always try to reiterate the same things about learning foreign languages. In spite of the fact I don't get many views, I don't give a shit. I think that many people, the problem about learning foreign languages is that people learn foreign languages just to show off, and learning a language because you really care about that language. You want to learn, you want to understand it, and you want to be able to speak in a decent way. That means you will never be perfect, but you can be pretty damn good at speaking a foreign language. And remember this: learning a foreign language is a long process that will never end. That means there come a time where you speak fluently. You will use it on a daily basis because basically it's not a pain in the ass. You write what you've been sewing, and that's the, so to speak, the result of years of being exposed to the languages. And I strongly, I really take, I really pay attention to the words I use. Speaking about foreign languages, I purposefully avoid studying, which is the worst thing. It's not to be linguistically correct, but actually, in our minds, studying involves a classical repetition, memorizing approach that it doesn't work much for many subjects, but really, yeah, that is by it's the default approach. It's not the best approach, but it can work if you need to memorize history, geography, or things like that, and you have to repeat. Okay, that's the worst approach, but this is the school approach. You learn things to show somebody that you've been reading those things several times. It doesn't enter your long-term memory. That's why you don't remember things you studied in school, but it works even less when it comes to foreign languages. You learn a foreign language now to post videos on YouTube. You don't learn a foreign language to impress your friends. At least you shouldn't. You learn a foreign language because you have an inner urge. Can be more linguistic, it can be more cultural, whatever. Sometimes the two, if it's the two of them, it's an even stronger motivation. You like the sound of the language, you like people who speak that language, you like what they eat, you like the climate, you like their politics. Okay, so you're strongly motivated. You're being motivated if you see in your future living there for a long time, or I don't know, working for 1 year or two and continuing, and you have friends and you really, it's part of you. A language, when you start a language, like you adopt an animal, a dog or a cat, you know that it's going to stay in your life for 10, 15, 20 years at least. Then, okay, sometimes we give up languages, but once you know you were able to fluently speak a foreign language, you're more sure, you're more self-confident. So the first thing is, I think that the beginning should be in a situation where you in a controlled situation. That's why I use textbooks. I'm using this for Russian, and I'm using the recording. At the beginning I made a mistake, I read more. Now I spend 2/3 of the time reading rather than listening rather than reading. And in time I prefer to spend 100% of the time, 90% of the time listening. There's some listening without reading, and listening and reading. I'm going through periods. Obvious, when I'm more confident with reading, I know that in my mind I read the right way. It takes some doing. I can spend more time reading. What are the pros and the cons? At the beginning, there are mostly cons. In the long run, reading involves being exposed to a language in a faster way, because the way we read we read much faster in our mind than we listen. I think that's 4 times faster. So you're exposed to more language. If you're in a phase that you need to develop vocabulary and a lot of grammar is what makes words work and connect with each other according also to their meaning. If I want to speak about the past, the meaning is in the past, and some languages they conjugate every person, you, to, he, she, we, and some languages in a way also there is a masculine and feminine in the verb. In Italian we have only for the past participle, but I'm sure there are languages that have different conjugations according to the sex of the person who speaks. It's a long. You need to develop reflexes and things, and there is a phase of the language that is equally important. I wouldn't say more important, but equally important to read. It depends on the language. Some languages you can read from the beginning without acquiring bad pronunciation, things like that. For example, modern Greek has several stresses. It's quite phonetical from the writing to the way it's spelled and the way it's spoken. No language is 100% phonetical. Get it out of your mind, but some languages are more. Some languages are more phonetical. This, by the way it's written, you can infer the way it's spoken. So at the beginning you need a guide. A textbook is your guide. You need to follow textbook and learn like the day before. Like you have to take an examination. So be precise, be thorough, be always review, listen, and that's counterintuitive, but remember this. Maybe the secret to learn, the key is not to push forward too fast. My approach is I have 2 years time to be able to understand simple Russian, 90% simple Russian. I mean, the way a 5-year-old boy would speak, and be able to understand everything, to understand everything I already know. That means be able to recognize sounds immediately. That's a secret. You wouldn't recognize sounds immediately if you haven't been exposed to exposed profusely to the language. And I'm exposed to the lessons because we have now recordings and audio parts. Okay, we are lucky from the 50s onward we have this and we make the most of this. All this internet gives you more opportunity, but gives also the opportunity to get lost, to jump from one thing to another thing. At the end of the day, you haven't learned anything that is conductive to a steady process of steady improvement. Okay, some people think they can learn languages just being exposed. The problem that when you learn your first language, there are some differences that you will never overcome. You already know another language. You don't have people around you so keen on helping you, and you don't have around you people who speak the language you're learning 24/7. But you can have something similar. That means a progressive exposure from simple language to more complex language, and a child, let's say that it takes at least 2 years, a child. There are pros and cons. I mean, this child is 24/7. Okay, theoretically, because they sleep, they eat, sometimes their people are not speaking to them the whole time. Most of the time they're not speaking to them, but there is a natural process of acquiring your first language that's so the works so much that let's say 99.99999% of people actually speak, unless they have some cognitive or I don't know, problem with the mouth, with the organs we use to speak, but mostly everyone. So if you reproduce in a way something that is similar to that, you're going to learn. So every day you should be exposed to the language, you should be reviewing what you've been doing and try to do something more. That's what I do. It takes months, it takes years, who cares? Most people learn languages, I've been learning languages more than 2 years, and I tell you, most of those people never get into the swing of things. They're always beginners, even if they make headway, their grammar, they make a lot of stupid mistakes, the way they pronounce is so bad, okay? If you're exposed to the language, you have people who can correct you. Language exchange can be useful if you can make the most of it, but most of people don't make the most of it. They know how to go about the language exchange. One of the two is a beginner, or they can be, if both are absolute beginners, I think that's very useful, that's very interesting, but people are not used to have this way that you help yourself with gestures, with your face, with your objects, with the situation. Okay, is I want you to know what cricket is. What a cricket, I can use the internet and put the sound of a cricket and say the animal that makes that sound. Or you can use a lot of systems to start from objects, from sound, from even movement with verbs. Okay, people should avoid immediately, I want to see the translation. No, see the picture with the image, try to have an insight, to make an effort to understand. And learning a foreign language can be a pain in the ass or an interesting endeavor. With obviously we make mistakes, we forget words, we forget and learn, forget and learn, forget and relearn until these words are part of me. That's it. What has been going on with Russian, and Russian is quite difficult. I don't care. It's a language. If Russian can speak it, I can speak it. Obviously, it would take a long some doing. I have to do it every day, no matter what. It need to become a habit. When once you've been doing that for months, it's not that difficult for you to do it. We get used to anything. In time, even we would do it. We feel that's part of our routine, and we miss the time that we devote to learn a foreign language if we skipped for some reason. In time, it grows on us, and we spend more and more time learning the language. We need to enjoy the process. I enjoy listening to Russian. I say, okay, 2 months ago I couldn't understand a word. Now the lesson I say studied, I said I don't use study. I've been reviewing and listening to. I understand everything. Obviously, if I get out of my comfort zone, I don't understand. I'm not on a level that I'm listening to. No, I understand everything of what I've been doing. It takes 1.5 years for me to be able to understand people. I can understand 70%. Another kettle of fish is being able to speak. That is, first you learn to understand, then you speak, then you read, and then you even write. That is the natural occurrence. That doesn't mean I don't read, but as I said before, in this phase I need to be exposed to the language, and my ears get used to these sounds so many, and I listen so many times that my software recognition software sounds, and then I match the what is the right subsequence, the order of the sounds in a word. Beep. So our mind should recognize sounds, and then from those sounds there's a recognition software recognize the word, and then recognize several, and we listen to several words and we make sense of it. We take that for granted, but it's not granted anymore, not for when it comes to a foreign language. So it takes a lot of listening in a situation that you understand, so that is a situation that is conducive to memorizing and making this language part of you when you listen, and there come a day when you have to speak and you use it. It's like when we grow, we don't realize every day that we are growing, but we grow from children to our natural height. But we know after 2 or 3 months, I say, "Oh, I'm more confident." But some people are kind of frustrated. They want to jump the gun. They want to, and they make a mess of their learning, basically, because they don't know whether they're coming or going. They learn in a very quick and dirty way. The pronunciation is sloppy, the understanding is next to nothing, and they always make stupid mistakes because it's normal. If you haven't been exposed to a lot of language, you don't have many templates. Because I was speaking with a Russian the other day. I don't know much Russian, but since I've been I follow the method, and I will say outside the temperature is, let's say, on the streets, and I immediately understood that she said in Italian on the streets. We don't say on the streets, la temperatura per strada. No, no, we don't say that in Italian. I recognize this. Is it possible that I know this difference after 2 months and a person has been learning Italian for 2 or 3 years and doesn't know it? If you learn the proper way, with a method, with recording, basically a good method that is based on practice, on real conversation, and gives you new words in every lessons, and then review what we've been doing, and after some lessons it gives you a recap of the grammar we faced in the lessons. It's good. I'm sure theoretically there are better ways, but I don't understand why people don't use something that's been made supposedly by professionals, and you follow a path. So you know that you are doing what it takes for you to learn a foreign language. Then when I've been doing my homework, I have better fish to fry, I'll play music, I forget about Russian, I forget about any language for that matter. I'm not fixated on that. It's part of my life. It's not. I'm learning Russian mostly because that will open some other situation. You never know. I never know. I don't like it here. I don't like the European Union. I don't like what they're doing to us. And as a last resort, I need to, because all the countries, I mean, I speak English, but all the countries where English is spoken are in this oppressive Western world narrative of, it's a long story, but that motivated me much more. I personally like English, I like Italian, I like my culture, Italian or Anglo-American, I don't know, because I lived in both sides of the pond, so to speak. So I think what I said is just common sense, but people don't follow common sense, and they say, and they follow videos where people speak the language I already know, and things and things and things and things, and I will never learn the language. How do I know? Because I trying to have a language to change. I heard people who learn Italian. I've been learning Italian for years and speak like shit with a thick American accent. I say, okay, you have an accent, but not like this. And in Russians, it's like they're still speaking Russian, or they still speak American. Okay, goodbye. I will speak about other ideas. Well, that's the meat and potatoes of my thought, the very basic ideas on how to go about it. You need 3 things: continuity, time, and good practice. Time, I mean every day, but also time means months and years. If you have these 3 things and you don't give up, you're going to learn anyway.